Okay, hello. Coming to you live from both of our living rooms. I'm in my kitchen. Stuart, you're in your very gorgeously painted living room. And
Thank you.
Manny, and welcome to Manny's Super Civic Cyber Conversations, where we are continuing our goal of civically engaging the public in this time of need. We're living our mission, and today we are joined by the incredible Stuart Shuffman, otherwise known as Broke-Ass Stuart, who's here to talk to us with his wine. Is that Chardonnay? What is that?
It's a rosé.
A rosé.
It's a sparkling rosé.
Oh, wow, you're outdoing me on that. I should get some rosé. We'll just actually okay. Okay, so we're talking about how to keep San Francisco weird in the midst of all this. That's the overall subject. But before we get into that, I would love to know, just like you have your ear and your nose to the ground, what are some things, like what are people telling you? What are some things that are coming to you right now? And what is the information that's bubbling up to you, Stuart?
I mean, there's a lot of information, and a lot of people are worried and nervous, but also really inspired to try new things. I think what's going to be the coolest out of all this is we're going to see, especially the longer it goes, there's so many brilliant people trapped inside right now, and like the way they can communicate with the world is this, right? Yeah. So we're going to see so many people like figure out awesome new ways to like use this as a medium and for an art form. And that's going to be rad.
Are you like so annoyed with it though at this point? Are you just like so ready to give someone a hug? Because I am.
I'm lucky. I live with my fiance and 2 roommates. So I have a lot of human interaction.
Okay. We were just before this in our pre-talk. I live alone, so I'm getting very little of it. Just my bottle of rosé, and my laptop, and my plants. That's all I got over here.
Yeah, I'd go a little cuckoo if that was me, because like I'm like a pretty social creature. So are you.
I am a very social creature. Okay, so I know it's hard to talk in superlatives, but what we know is that a lot of people have lost their jobs. We know almost all small businesses are closed temporarily, and some have said that they're not going to reopen, though not a lot have said that yet. Most people are waiting and seeing. And we know that people are getting sick. And it's hard to have we're not going to have a silver lining conversation because this is a very serious thing and people are getting ill. So I don't think about it in terms of silver lining. But when you think about the economic and the health impact of all this, some people are saying, well, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs in the short term. Maybe the tech companies are going to leave, and maybe San Francisco is going to get, more affordable, that kind of thing in the long run. Some people are saying this is like an extinction event, catastrophic, and actually anyone that was still holding on for dear life in San Francisco that wasn't part of a moneyed class of some kind, this is it. They're all going to be gone. Where do you land on that spectrum?
I don't think it's an extinction event. If anything, I mean, as we're seeing, there's all these news stories coming out about Airbnb shitting the bed completely, and like it's showing like how terrible Airbnb is for cities, Well, all of a sudden there's all this rental space.
I haven't read that. So what are they?
There was an article in New Orleans saying how all of a sudden there's all these actual rental spaces in New Orleans that were previously Airbnbs because like no one's doing that, So it shows that, I mean, I think with all this, we're just really learning, like, seeing how, as you and I were talking a second ago before we went live, how weak so many of our systems are, right? And this is really like a purge of like, it's like the emperor wears no clothes kind of thing, where we're finally seeing, oh, this is all bullshit. This is all bullshit, And what makes me excited is seeing that, like, I think that there are people who previously didn't see the bullshit who are now going to see it when people they love get sick and can't get health care, people they love lose their jobs and can't get bailed out, So I think we're going to see an awakening of consciousness, I think. And then we are seeing some kinds of bailout. We'll see what the federal one looks like. But, the mayor San Francisco, Mayor Breed, she just put out a fund to help artists, if you qualify. There's things, and like what's really exciting for me is seeing the way the community is stepping up and really taking care of each other.
Totally. And just before we keep going, folks, if you guys have questions for Broke-Ass Stuart, you can already start typing them into the Q&A button. On the bottom, there's a little Q&A button down there. You can start writing your questions. We're only going to talk for like 15 more minutes, and then we're going to have 10 minutes to ask your questions of Broke-Ass Stuart on how to keep San Francisco weird. Just piggybacking off of that, the last conversation that we had was with Jeff Kaczynski, who runs homelessness work right now to house homeless folks. And the city is going to find a way, it seems like, to house 8,000 people, whether it's, you know, emergency shelters or spaces that the federal government owns or hotels. And the way we were talking about it was like, we can house all the homeless people in San Francisco. And you and I have been talking about this, and a lot of people have been talking about this for years. The space is there. You know, all these drugs are there. We don't have to, we can have affordable health care. We can house our unhoused people. And it's unfortunate that it's taking a pandemic for us to remember this, but tell me about a story of resilience and courage that you're seeing that has come to your attention in the last week.
Every single person I know is being resilient and is courageous. I mean, I've spent my entire adult life working in restaurants and bars and doing Broke-Ass Stuart. So I've been in the arts and in the service industry my whole life. And seeing the way, like I was saying a second ago, people really stepping up and taking care of each other. And like, you know, I'm really lucky. Like, to be honest, Broke-Ass Stuart's entire income fell apart because, you know, we make money off getting people out to do things. So like, luckily Patreon's there and that's helping us out. And but more than anything, I'm lucky that I've got rent control and my girlfriend has a job, you know?
How is Broke-Ass Stuart going? How's that piece of it? I guess you're right. No events are happening.
Yeah, it's terrible, actually. I mean, like I've had to I was crying last week because I had to let a lot of my staff go because I couldn't afford to have them. You know, it's awful. But I mean, it's seeing people step up and take care of each other has been the most heartening thing, and that's the most resilient thing. Because like that's what it's going to be. We all got to look out for each other because we are each other's people, you know. Right. And we're a community.
Keeping San Francisco weird.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's talk about getting weird in a time where we can't get together. I'm afraid to say on the record some of the things that I've been invited to through Zoom, but let's just say there are things that I have not accepted the invitation to, which certainly are weird, which would involve, anyway, basically, how do you think we can be weird and we can keep that San Francisco weird thing going in a time where we can't actually touch each other or be in the same room?
I think so much of it's going to happen naturally, like because we're all strange people and we have a lot more time to think to be alone with our thoughts and just be weird people because we're weird people. All people are weird, but especially as San Franciscans. Today I went downstairs to we've got a garage where there's a little storage space for tenants. I brought my big, humongous costume box upstairs, which is literally goes up to here on me, you know, it's full of costumes. So now the costume box is in the house, we're all gonna start probably putting on costumes and taking weird photos and dancing to, you know, fucking Billy Idol and getting strange, you know.
Yes,
it's gonna be awesome.
I just jazzercised in my apartment, which I would not have done before. What about strange ways for people to use Zoom or other video conferencing to connect to folks? I have a game night with some friends that we've been doing where we've been playing board games through Zoom, but that's just kind of a little sad. How can we use this technology?
I mean, and I think we're going to see a lot of people who are going to be able to come up with things that we never even thought of. You know, there can be so many cool people being like, oh, how about we just and do something cool? Like my friend Jackie, she started a group for playing Dungeons and Dragons on Zoom, you know?
Is it working?
What's up?
Are people doing it? Is it working?
Yeah, there's a whole Facebook group and they're setting things up, which inspired me. I was over at Target and I was filling up on some stuff. I was like, they got a starter set for Dungeons and Dragons. I'm gonna buy that, you know? And so
wow, okay.
Me and my roommates are gonna play Dungeons and Dragons, maybe get into it and join an online thing. Let's see here. Oh, we got some questions.
Yes, we're not. Well, yeah.
Sorry, we'll do that after.
No, listen, sisters, your show too. I'm okay with getting questions. Let's just get to.
Yeah, we'll go through this, then we'll get to the questions. Yeah.
Once we're done, once this is over, once we can all see each other again, how do you think the city rebounds from this in a way that is uniquely San Francisco? How do we get back to real life the San Francisco way?
I think that when we finally get the call, hey, you can go outside, it'll be just like when Obama won and just like when the Giants won, and we'll all be out in the streets drinking and dancing and, you know, screaming our heads off and hugging and crying and being these weird people that we are. San Franciscans, part of being a San Franciscan is being in the streets. We walk places, we bike places, you know. We don't sit in cars. Sometimes, I mean, maybe here and there, but
right.
That's the hardest part about this. You don't get to be in the streets.
We're out.
So I think we're going to take over this chance.
The first conversation we did was with Heklina, the drag queen, and she said that after the AIDS epidemic, there was kind of a renaissance where people were, finally able to not fear as much kind of going out, and it actually created this artistic renaissance in the city. Do you think that might happen with this, where we've been cooped up in our apartments for a month or two, and all of a sudden we can all be out there? And how do you think that might change the arts of San Francisco and how we gather?
I think that those of us that are still in the arts that are left in the city, it's like boiling right now. It's like germinating, and like, the cauldron's going to boil over, and then it's going to be an explosion of like, look at all the stuff I've been making. Let's do this all. Let's be outside with this stuff. Here's the ideas I've been percolating on. Let's make them happen. I think totally.
What do you see as your role right now as someone who's for a very long time been a spokesperson for a slice of San Francisco life, and also someone that's always injected a dose of reality into our city? What do you see as your role right now?
Keeping people informed, like helping, get the word out there about important stuff and try to keep the mood light as well. I think tomorrow on the website, on broke-assstuart.com, we're going to have, I think it's going to be all satire articles probably. Because you got to laugh,
Like about coronavirus or just about anything?
Alex, who runs the website with me, he wrote a bunch of them, but there were some really funny ones. It was like, I don't remember, but like something like Doomsday Prepper, pretty smug about his rad new place or something like that. That kind of, we're not making fun of people getting sick. We're making fun of like the fuckery around it,
Right. Okay, let's get to some questions. Gabriella has a question. She asks, and if you have more questions, just go ahead and type them into the Q&A box and we will get to them. We'll ask your questions directly to Mr. Broke-Ass Stuart himself. A number of eclectic elderly folk are dependent on local community programs. They're losing their connections that they've come to love. Are there local groups who are helping keep them entertained while we are sheltering in place? Phone calls can only do so much.
That's a very good question that I don't have an answer to. Because I know with a lot of elderly folks, they're definitely not web savvy, like they're definitely like, they'd be like, what's a Zoom? So like, I don't know. I mean, I hope there are some of the people who are already in contact with the people or who have been doing face-to-face might have been able to set things up, but I honestly don't know. I wish I could tell you more because it's really important.
Okay, another question is from Michaela or Michaela, maybe, probably not, but I'm going to go there. What do you think is the best way to stay connected to community during this time?
I think we're doing it right now. I think, my roommate, his friends, they're doing a talent show on Friday through Zoom, and each person's going to like 7. What's up?
I said, okay.
Yeah. So it's like, it's like making time. Now suddenly we have time, like making time to connect with people. Like I was thinking today, like I should do like a little connection Zoom with like all my boys I grew up with, it's because we can just do this and like hang out and talk for a while. If we don't get a chance to do that anymore because people have kids and mortgages and shit, Yeah,
I totally feel that. I feel like there's all these things that have been on my to-do list of things I've always wanted to do, like learn how to cook, which I don't know how to do.
Neither.
Jazzercise, which I've always wanted to be more avid in my jazzercise. Not, and actually write and read. Do you find that you're getting to the things that you haven't been able to before? And if so, what are those things?
I mean, it's hard. Like my entire income fell apart last week. Like, so I literally, so by the way, if you're watching, please check out Broke-Ass Stuart, go to the Broke-Ass Stuart Patreon. If you can kick in a few bucks, that'd be really awesome because we're in a bad place. But
operator, that link to the chat for everyone, that would be great.
What's that?
I just asked the operator if they can get to the chat.
Yeah, thank you. So I always read a lot. I'm always reading at least one nonfiction and one fiction book. But I've got a little bit more time to do that now. But mostly I've been trying to figure out creative ways to bring in money to keep everything afloat.
Yeah, I feel like, and I think I actually talked to some restaurant owners today, and they're thinking about creative ways to do like pop-up windows and really push out the delivery and the takeout and the to-go. But I don't know. I mean, I'm still wondering what advice I can give to my fellow restaurant owners and small business owners on how they can make money, because the cocktail ordering thing to go doesn't seem to be taking off. I mean, what are you hearing, like any really creative ways for restaurants and small business owners to stay open right now, make some money?
I mean, still waiting to see, how the city and the state can help out small businesses and even the federal government. I know some people are doing well by like, really getting creative with their social media, and be like, my friend, my old roommate, Nancy, she owns this bar down the way called the Wooden Nickel. And she's put a really about how like, yo, you can order booze and food for delivery or pickup now, and she put together a really cute video where it seems like her dog is the one who ordered the food kind of thing. And
where can you find that video?
Actually, I just put it on my Instagram today. Instagram Broke-Ass Stuart, and it's also on the Wooden Nickels Instagram.
Wooden Nickel. Okay.
Yeah, the Wooden Nickel. Yeah, it's people are gonna have to be creative and scrappy, and it's unfortunate because like it was already so hard to begin with. It's already so hard to pay everybody and pay your rent and pay your bills, and then for creative people with AB5 that happened, and how all of a sudden that just hurt people's money. Like it's like getting kicked in the nuts after getting kicked in the nuts.
Can you tell people that are listening what AB5 is and what it did to artists in the
Sure. AB5 was really well intentioned. It's just a poorly written law that happened earlier this year, or was it last year? I don't remember. But recently, that affected freelancers.
Mm-hmm.
So it was meant to make Uber and Lyft make their drivers employees. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, for people like myself, or the San Francisco Examiner, or a band leader who has a jazz band or whatever, suddenly we had to take our freelancers and either make them employees, or they could only do like a certain amount of days of work. So for me, like they could only write for the website 35 times in a year, which sounds like a lot, but it's really not. And for a band leader, I don't know what the speculation, what the deal was, but like it was people do so many things in a year, and it really messes with people's money. Because like I can't afford to hire everybody. I wish I could. If I could, I'd hire everybody. But I run a fucking blog, like. All
right. We have a question from Jay. If we face the worst case scenario timelines for Corona apocalypse, what measures is our community taking for food security? It's a serious question.
It's a very serious question, and I don't have the answer to that. I mean, I know at this point the supply lines are still happening, and the supply chain is still happening. I mean, and we got to shout out to people in the fields right now who are actually doing this, still working in the fields, and that's one of the things that I'm hoping that the people think about it. We can enliven people's minds to the fact that like these same people who are saying no immigrants in my country, who the fuck is picking the food right now? Who's out there risking that shit, right? So we still have supply lines, we still have food coming in. I think that we have to hope that, and I do think that the city of San Francisco is stepping up. I think they're going to step up more, and like because this is San Francisco, we take care of each other. The past decade's been pretty fucking rough, but I mean, like in times of emergency, this is still San Francisco.
Right.
So I think that like ultimately there will be ways, but I don't know. I can't tell the future. I don't know how exactly it's going to work out.
If you wanted to, how can you socially distance? Right, and like do the whole 6 feet away thing, and still find ways to gather San Franciscans physically? Is there a way? No.
Right now, I wouldn't fuck with it right now. Like we gotta flatten the curve, is what the saying is. Right. We can deal with that later, but I mean, we're gonna have to deal with this for a little while. I mean, we have to be okay with hugging ourselves and looking at each other on Zoom. I know, but we're gonna have such awesome cuddle puddles when this is all over.
Are there any questions from the audience? Anyone listening have a question for Broke-Ass Stuart about the blog, about what he's doing? Any ideas from folks who are listening on how we can stay weird in this time and also kind of come back weird? All right, Kitty's got a question or a comment. Kitty says, as an owner-operator of a now unused small venue, what resources or forums are you aware of that could utilize a space temporarily? It's hard to stay weird when you've got to stay stable. That's true.
I understand. Definitely reach out to. I mean, the mayor just put something out yesterday or the day before where they have like I think either 1.5 or 2.5 million dollars worth of funding to do grants for small businesses, especially in the creative realm, artists. And I mean, unfortunately, I don't know if I can get it because like I'm not a nonprofit and I'm not like, and it's I don't know, but like for a lot of other things, it might be easier. So I'd say look into that. It's if you go to the San Francisco Arts Commission, their website, that's where the information is for that.
Operator just put it in the chat box as well if anyone.
Awesome, great, thanks. Otherwise, there's more. I'd say follow Matt. First of all, follow Matt Haney on Instagram and Twitter, and also Joe Fitzgerald Rodriguez. They're really good about about keeping everybody up to date on what's happening immediately. And
Yeah, I reached out to SF Marin Food Bank early on and asked, if they needed Manny's to be a food bank kitty. And actually, what they said is they've already identified really big sites within the city, and they right now the SF Marin Food Bank has all the sites it needs. It said has all the capacity it needs to feed people who are hungry. Now, again, everyone, we're just in the beginning of this curve, so maybe the curve is flat already. Maybe we don't know what's ahead of us. So I guess everyone just stay tuned. That's what everyone's saying, is to stay tuned.
It's interesting. So we just put out an article on my website today where Alex, he interviewed a doctor at UCSF, and they said, this is still nothing's for certain. It's still like, a long way to go, but SF is doing a really good job of flattening the curve right now.
We have a question, an interesting question from Mzungu. I've seen political actions in other places where people are protesting from their cars. There was a demo in Sacramento to support the release of ICE detainees, for example. San Francisco isn't really a car city. Any ideas of other creative ways that we can do to make us weird, like protesting everything? After all, that's part of why people want to visit anyway. Yeah.
What if we all got on bikes and wore those like bubble suits, and almost, ride around and they can have little bells and honk at each other. I mean, the thing is, like, at this point, the social distancing thing is so important, and since we don't have cars, it's more difficult.
And also, like, protesting. I'm all about the protests. I'm an activist. That's what I do.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest with you. The calls I've been getting have been about who's being left out from the relief package coming from the federal government. For instance, small businesses, we're still trying to figure out how much the federal government is actually going to help us. But it feels overwhelming to try to protest what the federal government's doing in a time of a pandemic,
Yeah, and with things are changing every day. There's new information and things that we thought were real or not. And we're getting such shitty vibes from the very top because there's so much misinformation. But I think that the organizing is going to go online. You're going to see. I've already seen a lot more. Change.org petitions and things like that, where we're going to sign all the petitions. That's a good start, because that's where organizing is right now. You can't be organizing individuals. You have to individually organize online.
Right. So we're going to close this conversation up, but I think I would like both of us to just end on one piece of advice for how San Francisco can stay weird during the standstill. For me, I think it's find that weird thing that you've been afraid to kind of dive into, and use the fact that you're stuck in your apartment all day to really kind of dig into it. I'm not going to say what mine is, but I'm trying to get my weird habit in, and really we're alone. We're talking to ourselves sometimes. We're staring at the wall. We're laughing in strange places. And so maybe this is like Stuart said, this is an incubation period for all of us to kind of remember our weird side. Stuart, what's your final word?
Dig into your costume box. Take weird photos. Give yourself a fashion show for your friends. I mean, this is San Francisco. We all got costume boxes, or at least costume drawers, because there's so many times putting costumes in the city. So get into it and get weird.
I do. Well, actually, here. You know what? I'll just do this right now.
Hello, everybody. Looks like it's just me now. How are you doing? There you go.
There you go.
Oh, magnificent.
There you go.
Magnificent.
Before we end, I just want to bring everyone's attention to the chat box. There are two places where you can go to support Broke-Ass Stuart and Manny's. There's a link, joinit.org/o/Manny's. Please consider becoming a sponsor of Manny's for $36 a month. You will help us continue to provide this civic programming to the community. We're doing this for free for you. We've been doing amazing conversations. We're doing 4 or 5 a day. So please become a sponsor of Manny's at the link above. And also join me in becoming a Patreon supporter of Broke-Ass Stuart. I'm going to click on it right now, and I'm going to join as a Patreon member person to Broke-Ass Stuart. Support people like Broke-Ass Stuart during this time. He needs your support and your love. Please tag us. It's at Welcome to Manny's, at Broke-Ass Stuart. Share this content, spread the message, hug yourself and hold each other. And thank you so much, everyone. And thanks to my team, Sam, Jupiter, and Ram, for putting this event on and being so amazing. Stuart.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, Manny. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Talk to you later.